So I think they're pretty good. But, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Ohio State's matchup.
For sure.
Tennessee, 8-9 matchup. Ohio State opens as a 7.5-point favorite. And the game's going to be at home, at night. It's going to be the last playoff game of the first round. So give me your initial thoughts on this game.
I'm very excited because I'm a closet Tennessee fan. Like it's like the team I
You
root
mentioned that
for.
last week, yeah.
Yeah, I love everything about them. But on the field, my first thoughts are O-line versus their D-line. Their running game versus our run defense.
That is
Honestly,
concerning to me.
That's honestly where I keep. Am I concerned about our pass protection or just our offensive line in general? Yes. The only thing I'm happy about right now is that they have a couple weeks here to figure something out. That's the only thing I'm happy about. Outside of that, in terms of the game, I'm very worried about what that looks like. Not that because I think not like Tennessee will blow us out, but like it worries me. On the other side, their run game against our run defense. Again, I'm not as like I know like we got when I got into it, we talked about just the effectiveness of Michigan's run game, and we disagree on that. But as a whole, of 12 games of data, Ohio State is the second best run defense in the nation. That can't be questioned. It's been really good. I want to know, and then the quarterbacks, and then, yeah, it's cliche to say that, but I mean, Will Howard, how when he gets pressure in this game, what happens? Also, when it comes to Nico, a lot of I figured out here recently, Ryan, that a lot of people do not watch football outside of their own team. And a lot of people will say, well, man, Tennessee's passing game, man, Heupel, he can scheme it up. Well, here's the thing, everybody. Their passing game has been looked broken all year. It's looked broken. Josh Heupel hasn't had the same passing game since 2022. That's fact. Last year it wasn't that good. This year it's better, but it's not anything to be afraid of. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good matchup. I think I think the over-under is 47.5 or something like that right now. I would take the under without question.
Yeah. So where I wanted to go first here is the quarterback matchup. You mentioned about Nico and how everyone thinks that their passing offense is this high-flying act. So Nico does have 2,500 passing yards. He's only got 19 touchdowns. He's got 5 interceptions. But I want to talk about how he plays in the toughest games that they've played so far this year, because that's what this is going to be for him. This is going to be a tough game on the road in a hostile environment.
Right.
So let's start here against Alabama, who they beat, by the way. They won this game. It was at home, at Tennessee. So he had some friendly confines there. He was 14 of 27 for 194 yards, so completing just 52% of his passes, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and he got sacked 3 times. Another game that they played against a tough opponent. They played at Georgia, which they lost this game, 31-17. 20 of 33 for 167 yards is all. No touchdowns, no interceptions. He got sacked 5 times. And even another game that they played against, yes, Oklahoma was ranked at the time of this matchup. We all know how bad Oklahoma is now. But he was just 13 of 21, 194 yards, 1 touchdown, had 3 sacks. And the game that they lost the following week against Arkansas, 17 of 29, 158, sacked 4 times, no touchdowns, no picks. So this is someone, and he also carried the ball 11 times for only 17 yards in that game. So, Nico, I think he's going to be good in the future. And he's showing the ability where, here late in the season, he beat up on teams like UTEP and Vanderbilt. We saw Vandy have some moments early in the year. Their defense has not been the strong part of their team. So, he's had some moments where, he can throw it deep. And if you're not careful, he will go ahead and throw it past you. That's not been Ohio State's necessarily their issue this year. They don't get beat with a lot of deep throws. They get beat by a lot of intermediate throws, within that 10 to 20 yard range. Nico doesn't excel at that because he's a true freshman. He just doesn't have that refinedness to his game yet. So I think Ohio State definitely has the edge in the quarterbacks because I think Will Howard's got a lot of experience. Yes, he played his worst game as a Buckeye against Michigan, but I have to imagine that being at home in front of a raucous home crowd is going to really energize him. And I think it's really going to rattle someone like Nico. So I think they gave him a slight edge there. But like you, I am deeply concerned about Ohio State's offensive line being able to handle the front of Tennessee, specifically in the run game. We saw how poorly that went against Michigan. They weren't able to move anyone off their spot, couldn't get to the second level, and ultimately that was their downfall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you caught Ryan Day's press conference after the revelation that they were going to play Tennessee, but I was actually somewhat encouraged when he said, yeah, we'll do anything that we need to do to win this game. So he's not committing to one specific game plan to beating Tennessee like he did against Michigan, where he was just running up against a brick wall, at every series. He'll throw it, he'll run it, he'll do whatever he needs to do. And, he kind of needs to because his job is on the line. If they lose, he out of here.
Yeah, when it comes to Nico, you said something that I'm not like a lot of people probably don't know. They probably haven't seen Tennessee this year. He gets sacked a lot.
Yeah,
he's sacked on average. I think he gets sacked twice per game, 24 times this season. Fun
and
stat.
Part of that's because he holds on to the ball a lot because he's trying to make some plays.
And then fun stat for everybody. Ohio State sacks the quarterback at 10.5%. That is second in the country. Now, yes, it may not come from Jack Sawyer and JT like we wanted to all the time, but we're sacking the quarterback. I think that it's really easy to look at Ohio State's offensive line and say, oh, man, what are they going to do with someone else's defensive line? But I don't think a lot of people are giving Ohio State's defensive line the credit they deserve. They stop the run. They stuff it. And yes, the Michigan game, that's an anomaly. That's not that happened, but I separate from the rest of the season. You're not going to beat Ohio State running the ball down their throat. And if you're doing that, you better hope that the game is in a single score game at that point in time.
I generally agree with you. You're not going to be able to beat this team most of the time running it 30, 35 times, down the
unless you're Michigan.
And the part of the reason why Michigan was able to do that is because Ohio State gave them a short field a couple times. Specifically, Ohio State gifted Michigan 7 points with that Will Howard interception. They only had to go less than 10 yards into the end zone to get that touchdown.
And they gifted them 10 points. The other interception gave them the field goal.
Sure, but they at least had to drive down the field a little bit more for that one. So as far as Tennessee's ground game is concerned, they do. I wouldn't say they're bad at running the football, and I wouldn't say they're great at it either. They've got some guys. Dylan Sampson is their top back. He's run for almost 1,500 yards this season. He's got 22 touchdowns, though. So when he gets the ball close to the goal line, he's going to score. He gets it. He runs it at 5.8 yards a pop. So they're getting some movement up front, which is a little bit concerning. But if we're coming down to the same thing with Michigan. With Ohio State against Michigan, all we said was stop the run because they can't throw the ball because they've had 3 different starting quarterbacks and Davis Warren's not going to be able to move the ball.
Right.
I think if Ohio State is going to be able to win this game, they need to focus on stopping Sampson and stopping this run game in general and make a true freshman beat you on the road at night in a hostile environment. So I can see Ohio State bring in, 6, 7 guys in the box, especially early in this football game, to try to stop the running game. And once it does get into a 3rd and long scenario where Nico's going to have to throw the ball, I don't expect them to sit back and just kind of let him go through his reads and pick apart a zone defense. I expect Jim Knowles to actually dial up some pressure. I expect Sonny Styles, Cody Simon, and even Caleb Downs, on a safety blitz. I expect these guys to come from different angles because, like you said, the sack production recently hasn't really come from the defensive line. They've needed some of that extra help from the back seven.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're going to win this football game, they're going to have to keep that up.
No, yeah, I'm right with you. And then, I mean, on the back end, they have Brew McCoy, Thornton, their big 6'5" receiver who's, I think, he's averaging over 25 a catch right now, which is
he's their big play threat.
Yeah, he's the big play guy.
Yeah.
It's not like he's catching 6-7 catches a game. He gets 3 there, 5 there, 2 here, whatever. Okay. It's very important that Igbenogson and Denzel they don't hold and they play very good. Now, I will say this as a former corner, it is actually easier to play bigger receivers than it is to face little guys or like smaller guys because they're shiftier. With the big guy, he may overpower you, but you can stay with him better because you can play off him a little bit. He's not as quick twitch, so that actually might play in their favor. I mean, it helps that Denzel's 6'1", Iggy's 6'1", 6'2", so I think that plays in our favor. But not giving Tennessee opportunities to move the chains outside of them doing it themselves. Dylan Sampson's gonna get some good carries.
Yep,
he's just a good running back. Their offensive line is good. I watched a few of their games this weekend, or a few of the highlights from the game, and they can move bodies. Thankfully for us, everyone on that D line is pretty damn big. Thankfully, also, again, if there's other teams that aren't watching us, it's okay. But we have one of the things that helps Ohio State's run defense is the fact that we have 2 thumpers at safety. We have 2 safeties that love to hit. One of them is the best in the nation. The other one is top 3 in PFF, which is Ransom. So I think that plays in Ohio State's favor.